Welcome to the CEO Project Podcast, where Jim Schlexer, author of the best-selling book, Great CEOs Are Lazy, and the founder of the CEO Project, provides ideas and tools to help CEOs of mid to large-sized companies grow and optimize their businesses. Now, let's get started with the show. Welcome, everybody, to the CEO Project Podcast. My name is Jim Schlexer. I'm your host and the founder of the CEO Project. Well, for those that know me, know that I am way into mountaineering books, which is a little bit weird because I'm actually afraid of heights. So this doesn't make total sense. But today we've got one of my partners, Stephen Pivnik, and Stephen is on his way to, God willing, summit Mount Everest. Stephen, welcome.
Jim, great to be on the show from 17,200 feet.
Woof. Stephen and I climbed a couple of years ago Kilimanjaro with a team. And so that's the highest I've ever been. 19.3, I guess, was that height. And
Yep.
you're just kind of hanging out only a couple thousand feet below that and just getting warmed up, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, we've been doing a lot of acclimatization hikes, and tomorrow's hike is going to bring us to just over 20,000 feet.
So
So we're
higher
just
than Kili.
hiking a little bit higher than Kilimanjaro.
That's just nuts. How long does it take to acclimatize it at 17,000 plus feet? I mean, how long are you hanging out there?
Yeah, so that's a great question. A lot of people don't realize that there's a new approach that the company that I'm going with called Alpenglow Expeditions, they've pioneered something called a rapid ascent. So
Hmm.
traditionally, climbers that want to get to the top of Everest have to go to Kathmandu, hike
Yep.
to base camp, and live in base camp for about a month to
Holy,
acclimatize
holy
before they can go
moly.
higher.
Wow.
Yeah, a full month.
Yeah.
So what Alpenglow does is they send us these things called hypoxico tents. So picture a little bevy that goes above your body on your bed, attached to a machine that produces nitrogen. Nitrogen mixed with ni oxygen fools your body into thinking it's living at altitude. So instead of spending a month at base camp acclimatizing, we spend just over a month in our own bed acclimatizing, so that when we show up to base camp, our bodies feel like we've been here for a month.
Wow. And I saw some of the pictures of your boy in the bubble, bed that you've been living in. That sounds like a great way to kill yourself if you get the setting wrong.
Oh, it's really hard to kill yourself. You'll just be really, really uncomfortable if you switch it on to for the highest setting too soon.
Uh,
So you start off at 7,000 feet, then 9,000 feet, then 12. And then for the final 2 or 3 weeks, you're basically trying to simulate 17,000 feet, which is where we're
wow.
at right now.
Is sitting in your apartment in New York,
Well, it's laying in your bed.
laying in your bed. Okay, yeah, but wow.
And trust me, you feel it. Like you take a breath and your body doesn't get the same amount of oxygen with every breath that you do at sea level. So you're
Yeah.
fooling your body into building red blood cells, which is what you need at altitude.
I skied Breckenridge earlier this year, and you land there and it's 9,600 feet. Like, so as sea dweller going to almost 10,000 feet, you definitely don't sleep well the first couple of nights, and you're a little
Absolutely.
winded
Nope.
going upstairs and stuff like that. So, oh, that's
Yep.
that's brilliant. Why didn't anybody think of that before? That's a smart way to do it.
You know what? I really give the founder of this company, Adrian Ballinger, a lot of credit. He's a huge, huge mountaineer. He's summited Everest 9 times. He's done
Wow.
K2 without oxygen. He has
Oof.
a huge resume of climbing accomplishments. He was spending so much time away from his family
Yeah.
that he just wanted to come up with a better way. And he experimented with this, and he tried it out on a couple of, client teams, and it worked. And now, instead of the expedition being 2.5 months, which is what it is with most companies, it's door to door about 40 days with him.
Wow. Okay. Still a long time. Now, most people, like most of the books I've read, Bukarev's book and Krakauer and so forth, for those that haven't read it, it's Under the Banner of Heaven, I think. Is that the one? No, Into Thin Air is that book, right?
And
So that's the 96 edition, which was horrible. But they all went up the south side. So you go to base camp, and then kind of the most dangerous part is the ice fall to get through the ice
the
fall.
Kumbu Icefall, yeah.
And then the other really dangerous spot is the Hillary Step, only because it's a congestion point for everybody trying to get to the top. And you're at 20 plus thousand feet waiting in line to get up over this step. You're going another way, though. You're not going the traditional route.
You're right. So there's about 12 different routes, but the most
Oh,
popular route is the one you just mentioned, the south route through Nepal. up
Yep.
the Khumbu Icefall, and then a whole bunch of other camps. I'm going through the Tibet side. So
Okay.
I'm currently at on base camp on the Tibet side, and it's a less popular route. There's a long, long history as to why it became less popular. It has to do with the Olympics that were here in China and China closing down this side of the mountain because they wanted the entire torch-bearing ceremony to go up Everest.
Ah,
And a ton of companies lost a lot of money because they needed to shut down their operations for a year.
oof,
So
oof.
they basically, gave China the bird, moved over to the south side.
Yep.
Nepal started benefiting from all of this, mountaineering tourism. And many companies never, came back because they lost so much money and they reinvested it in on the south side. They stayed there. Adrian Ballinger and Alpenglow Expeditions and a couple of others, they're not exclusive on this mountain. They've realized that this side is a lot safer
Ah,
because there's no Khumbu icefall.
right.
They don't climb in a valley. On the south side, you're climbing in a valley. So if and when there's an avalanche, it's coming down on you.
Yep. Yep.
On the north side, there are avalanches and rockfall, but that's happening below us because we climb on a ridge.
Yep.
So because of the ridge, it's steeper and it's colder. So it's
Uh-huh.
more exposed,
Yeah, you got
but
wind like crazy, probably, right?
it's a lot safer.
Interesting. What you experienced that you did Aconcagua down in Chile, and that was windy as heck if I remember you talking about it.
Yeah, it's nowhere near as windy as this is going to be, but it was pretty cold. And
Yeah.
that was Aconcagua is the second highest to Everest of the seven summits. It's 23, just over 23,000 feet.
Yep.
And Advanced Base Camp, which is where we'll be in about 4 days, is at the height of Aconcagua.
Oh my God. That is just nuts. Um,
It is.
now I seem to remember this is the way Hillary went up.
This is the way Hillary went up,
Right.
and
So
they
you're
found.
following in the steps of Edmund Hillary and Norgay, who summited
Yep,
Everest for the first time.
absolutely. And
That's
I think they found his boot a couple of months ago up
oh,
there.
that is so cool, man. Like this, it's historic, right?
It's completely historic, and like we're doing it the traditional, again, the original route. I'm not gonna. I think he had oxygen. I'm pretty sure they had oxygen, so we're using oxygen as well.
Yep.
On this company, there's different types of. There's a whole bunch of debates about the flow rate that's proper to
Yeah.
use to really give
Yeah.
somebody the real experience of really pushing themselves to their personal limits. There's several unethical companies that use a flow rate of, I forget the actual terminology, but 8,000 per liter or per minute or
Okay.
something like
Yeah.
that.
It'd be per minute, 8 liters per minute or something like that.
8 liters
Yeah.
per minute. Thank you.
Yeah.
The cheaper companies only allow two to
Wow.
minimize the amount of bottles that are taken.
Right.
This company uses four, which is a
Uh,
perfect balance of giving climbers what they need, but not making it a cakewalk for them. Because, in their opinion, which I totally agree with, if it's a cakewalk, it takes away from the entire
yeah.
experience. I mean, this needs to be hard.
Yeah. Well, and it's like scuba diving. Like essentially at that point, I'm just, I got all the air I need. I'm good to go. So if you really were going to do this the way Hillary did, though, you'd have a wool jacket and leather hobnail boots, right? And so tell me a little bit about the gear because it's super technical, the stuff you're bringing, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of gear that's required. So obviously we're wearing something called 8,000-meter boots. These are triple insulated boots. Think of going into a ski boot, but the inner boot, there's three layers of that inner
Oh
boot
my
before the
gosh.
outer shell.
Wow.
So it's ridiculously warm. Obviously, we put crampons on top of that boot, and
Hmm.
then we're wearing probably base layer, second layer, third, probably wearing three layers of clothes beneath our summit suit. And the summit suit, best way to describe a summit suit, I wish I can show it to you, but it's bundled up right now. Think of the thickest sleeping bag you can imagine, like 800 down with sleeves and legs.
You look
So
like the
it's like
Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
100%. That or the Michelin Man. So
Michelin Man.
you're putting on a sleeping bag on top of 3 to 4 layers of clothes
Wow.
because temps are going to get down into the probably minus 30. That's
Oof.
the safest. That's the coldest our company would allow us to go out in
Okay.
with 20 to 40 mile an hour winds potentially.
Ooh, so it feels like minus 40, minus 50 with the wind, right?
Yeah,
Oof.
so I mean, all of those layers of clothes and the oxygen. I mean, the people that do it without oxygen, not only obviously are they suffering because for every breath they're only getting 1/3 of the oxygen that they need, that your body needs.
Is that the
But
ratio? A third as many oxygen molecules at that height? Oof. Boy, oh boy.
and the death zone starts at about 24,000 feet. For every breath at that altitude, you're only getting one third the oxygen that you would get at sea level.
Holy moly.
But another thing that it doesn't help you, makes you colder. So breathing in oxygen, which we all will be, keeps us warmer than
Ah,
people without oxygen.
got it. I remember he's a legendary mountaineer. Ed Vistiers did all of the 8,000-meter peaks, no oxygen.
Yep.
I mean, the
That yeah,
guy's
that's a
he's a
common theme.
genetic freak, right? You have to be genetically gifted somehow to be able to do that.
You have to there needs to be something you need to be gifted physically, and there needs to be something up front up front mentally
A
to
little
try this.
more in the body, less in the brain.
Not only once, but like you said, did 14 8,000-meter peaks in the Himalayas, and he
Yeah.
did every single one of them
And so
without
I've read the
oxygen,
book.
which is
Some of
just
them are insanely scary, dangerous climbs. I mean,
yes.
K2 being more dangerous than Everest, but there's others that are even more dangerous than that. So,
Yeah, K2 and Annapurna are two of, I mean, they're literally just people, they're mountaineer killers. There's just
yeah.
so much danger there. On Everest, there's a lot of danger that could be mitigated.
Yep.
On K2, I mean, there's just areas where you're literally praying for something not to fall on top of you.
Whew. Gosh, geez Louise. So, what's your, I know you get up high and then you kind of look for a weather window. What sort of, if things work out, about when do you think you'll be summiting? I know it's not perfect
Um,
science here.
yeah, great question. I mean, we could potentially summit if we get an early weather window, we'll be attempting a summit in about 10 days.
Okay.
If we don't get a weather window, we'll be attempting a summit in about 20 days.
Got it.
So it all depends on. So right now we're in the acclimatization process. We'll be moving up to advanced base camp in about 3 to 4 days,
Yep.
depending on weather. And then from advanced base camp, if we get an early weather window, we'll actually shoot for the top, which
Wow.
takes 5 days.
Yep.
If we don't get an early weather window, we will continue acclimatizing by actually coming back down to this base camp.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you basically fool your body into going high, climbing high, sleeping low, and that actually benefits the red blood cell creation.
Yep.
So ideally, again, so there's pros and cons to both. We can either go up early and really, really push it, or come down, better acclimatize, which will make us feel even stronger when we go for the final push
Yeah.
later in the month.
Higher probability of making it. Yeah. We did some of that on Kilimanjaro, not to that
Yeah,
extent, but we climbed high, slept low, relatively speaking, a couple of thousand feet, not gigantic numbers.
right.
So,
Hmm.
fascinating. So, how long do you think you're actually on the summit? This is the wild thing I think about climbing Everest.
Yeah.
How long do you think you're up on top if you make it,
I,
provided you make it?
I pray that we
You
make
and
it
me
because
both, my friend. Yes.
there's nine of us here. There's nine customers here, six guides and 15 Sherpa that are
Wow.
really, really want to make it.
Hmm.
It all depends on weather. I've heard stories of people literally spending 5 minutes up there, if that, get to the top, take a picture, and get the hell down because
Yeah.
A, it's freezing, there's bad weather coming in, and 90% of the people, unfortunately, that die on the way down
Yeah.
because they've overexerted themselves on the way up. So if the weather is good, last year, this same company, they had the opportunity to spend 90 minutes on the
Oh
top.
my, so they had a bluebird perfect day,
They
huh?
had a bluebird day going up, and the forecast was fine for no bad weather coming in for a while. But this is how fickle these mountain environments are. The forecast was for perfect weather on the way down. Temperatures dropped to -20 and 20-mile-an-hour winds. So instead of coming all the way down to advanced base camp, which is the plan after a summit, they had to stop at high camp because it was too dangerous to continue. So they
Wow.
needed to spend the night in really, really, really brutal conditions because it was too dangerous to continue the descent.
Wow. Wow. Now you start early in the morning for the ascent, at least on the other side you do. I don't know about this side. So you're like
No,
climbing in the dark. You're climbing in the dark.
same here. So
Yeah.
you want to move on the most dangerous part of the mountain when it's as frozen as possible.
Okay.
So that means you start your ascent, you start your summit bid at 10 p.m., 10 to 11 p.m.,
Oh, at
climb
night.
through,
Okay.
yeah, you start at 10 to 11 p.m., climb through the night.
Yep.
You get to the top by sunrise, which is
Yep.
in and of itself is just a beautiful thing to be
That's
at the top of the
pretty
world
spectacular. Yeah.
with the sun coming up. And then because bad weather typically comes in like midday, this gives you the opportunity to get to descend as much as possible before the bad part of the day starts weather-wise.
Got it. Awesome. And it is just great for you to be with guides that have done this many times. They know all the tricks, the techniques, the timing, and when for those listening, when Steven said he's going to do this, I said, dude, you got one job. Come back alive. Getting on top of the mountain is the second job. And then come back
I
alive.
have several goals. One is to come back alive. Two, I hope I at least tag 8,000 meters because that's like there's like a special club in the mountaineering world, the
Oh,
8,000-meter club.
oh,
So I
really?
hope to get at least there.
But that's not the summit, right?
That is far. That's not the summit. That's only about 26,000. There's still 3,000 feet left
Oh,
to go, which
jeez.
is the hardest part. And
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I told anybody that I don't. I mean, obviously, I want to summit more than anything else,
Yeah.
but I'll be very happy, coming back alive because this has just been. It's already been an incredible expedition, and I still have, 20 days left before we
Yeah.
attempt a summit.
That's phenomenal. Now, is this part of a greater master plan to do all seven summits for you?
I definitely want to do the seven summits. So I
Ah,
did
so we're
one.
going to Antarctica, huh?
I did one with you. I did
Yep.
Captain Conwa. I tried Denali in Alaska twice unsuccessfully. So that's unfinished business.
Yep.
Hopefully, this will give me a whole bunch of additional experience
But it
to
wasn't
attempt that.
experience that knocked you off of Denali. Now McKinley again, by the way, but it wasn't experience. It was weather, right?
Well, the first time was weather. The second time was a combination of weather and me being not as prepared as I should be,
Okay.
which I talk about failure a lot, right? And failure is such a humongous part of success.
Uh-huh.
When we got to high camp on Denali and we woke up and it was our summit bid day, the lead guide came to my tent and said, "You're not coming with us today," because I had suffered mightily all the way up to that point, and she knew that I was in no physical condition to attempt the summit and I would endanger myself and
Yeah.
the rest of the team.
Wow, that's tough news, man.
I hated that news, but at the second she said it, I completely respected that decision and
Yeah.
I agreed with it wholeheartedly. So
Yeah.
the rest of the team attempted a summit. 10 hours later, they came back without a summit because they
Oof.
got turned around by weather. So there wouldn't have been a summit anyway.
Yeah.
But for me, there was such an incredible lesson learned to never underestimate the amount of physical exertion that's required on these mountains. And I took it for granted. At the time, I was racing like one Ironman after another. I'm like, Denali, piece of cake. I don't have to really train for this. I
Yep.
got and I did not get it. And that taught me such an incredibly valuable lesson that I don't think I overtrained. I trained as much as I should have for this experience. So fingers crossed, I
Yeah.
have enough in me
Now they,
to,
they
to
sent you a
get the top
training
that
program
far.
because you've been at this for a couple of months now of hikes and rocks in your backpack and going up hills and crazy
Yeah,
stuff, right?
there's a ton of like lower body work required because there's just so much leg work and core that's
Yeah.
required to get to the top, in addition to getting your body accustomed to carrying a heavy pack for 10 to 12 hours at a time because summit day is going to be a 16 to 24-hour day
Oof,
possibly.
brutal. Holy moly. And what do you eat when you're moving like that? You got to take in calories because you're expending them like crazy. How do you eat when you're moving? Because I know like when I run marathons, you got goo and stuff like that, but that's probably not enough for what you're doing.
It's almost impossible to take in more than you're burning.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here at base camp and in advanced base camp, I actually just came back from dinner. I mean, they feed us incredibly well. It's like just gourmet food, a ton of calories. So they're trying to fatten us up, even though it's impossible to gain weight.
Yeah.
But up high, we eat dehydrated food in camp
Okay.
because it's
Yep.
impossible to take all these cooking apparatuses, with us. So the Sherpas and the guides are continuously melting ice and snow so we can hydrate and eat dehydrated food. And
Yep.
while we're on the move, it's just like in a marathon, as much junk food as you can possibly
Just
take in.
candy bars and got anything,
This
right?
Snickers, Milky Ways, beef jerky, and you take as much as you can, but at the end of the day, it's really, really hard to eat at altitude because your
Yeah.
body just A, you can't process it, B, just doesn't want it.
Yeah.
And so you try to just, drink as much as you can.
I remember on Kilimanjaro, not nearly as high as you were, but like we were at high base camp, the last camp before summit. I didn't want to eat anything. I mean, I didn't want it. So I hear you. Now, I remember in Kilimanjaro, they were checking our pulse ox, making
Yep.
sure that are they doing the same sort of technical matter to make sure your health and safety is on point?
Absolutely. They had us, check our pulse ox every night when we were
Yeah.
pre-acclimatizing at home, and
Yep.
they check our pulse ox. They took a baseline when we got here, and they take it all the time to make sure that the numbers are within a acceptable range.
Yeah. They later told us, I think, they said if you were above some number, 85% or 90% at 15.5, they knew you were going to make it. Like they'd done it
Right.
enough that they knew that was predictive of being able to make it to the summit based on fitness, right? So
Exactly.
that's fabulous. So you've done South America, Africa, now maybe Asia. You've got to do, what are the other ones left that you have to do? You have to go back and do Denali
I,
slash
I
McKinley, right?
I have to go back and do McKinley because that's unfinished business, and that's just it's a phenomenal expedition. I just can't wait to go there just for the experience again.
Yeah.
This time, hopefully, with the summit. Antarctica is another one.
That's the
Ellsworth,
Vincent Massive, right?
Massive. Yes, you take a flight from Punta Arenas, Chile, and
Mm-hmm.
you land on the blue ice on the glacier in Antarctica, and then you start like a week or week and a half long trek down into the South Pole
Yep.
to the mountain. So that's one.
But it's not very,
Elbrus,
that one's not very high, but the conditions are going to be brutal.
it's not high at all, and it's brutal.
Yeah.
It's super brutal, really cold. Thank God for heated socks and heated gloves, which I'm planning to use here.
Oh, are you? Oh, so I'm going to ask about power in a minute, but keep going. Yeah. What
Sure.
what else you got to
Um,
do?
Elbrus is the highest in Europe, and it's in
Okay.
Russia.
Yep.
I was all paid for and all scheduled flights and everything to go to Elbrus, and then the war broke out, so that didn't happen.
So it
So
may
when
be a
every
while before that's an available option.
100%. That
Yeah.
definitely may be a while, so I can probably get the other ones done before. And then there's a debate between the highest point. It's either on Australia or Karsten's Pyramid in Papua New Guinea. So
Mhm.
there's a debate whether which one of those is higher or considered the eighth.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll just do both.
I was just going to say, knock them both off and then ends the debate, right? So you're obviously on, cell or computer or something, and you got lights and you've got heated boots. And where does all your juice come from when you're up there?
So here,
You can't bring enough batteries, right? I mean, there's no way.
so we're not. So here we have electricity in base camp, which is
Oh,
amazing.
really?
China actually ran electricity into base camp here. They're really the road here. The amount of construction on the road through Tibet to base camp here is incredible. China is really making big plans to increase the tourism here because Nepal benefits from a ton of tourism just for hikers to get to base camp.
Yeah.
And China wants the same thing. So there's a lot of infrastructure being built. And so here, there's electricity here. And I have a full cell service.
Yeah.
It's rumored that the cell service will continue to work as we ascend the mountain all the way up to the top.
Wow.
So I may be able to have a FaceTime call with my mother and say, "Hey, mom, I'm at the top of the world."
That would be awesome. Oh my God,
So
that's epic.
that
That's great.
that's going to be incredible. But as far as power goes, we're not going to use our batteries for our heated socks and heated gloves until summit day.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we will charge everything here, keep everything as warm as possible because batteries don't like cold.
Hmm.
So we'll keep them as warm as possible until summit day. And I have 4 pairs of batteries for my socks and 4 pairs of batteries for my gloves
There you go.
because that is my single weakest link. I mean, I
Uh,
think I have more than enough endurance to get this done. I have all the proper warm clothes for all my layers, but my fingers and my toes run cold. So
yeah.
that is my top 3 fears of this entire trip is just getting frostbite.
Yeah, I have the same thing. My fingers. I don't know why. My whole rest of my body can be perfect, and my fingers, they just get cold. I don't know why, but yeah, so good for you. And heated gloves are definitely moved. Like when I ride motorcycles, heated gloves when it's
Yep.
below like 50, I'm in heated gloves.
Yeah,
It's crazy. Well, that's super cool. So what are you gonna Doc, I'm just gonna go to economics for a second. So I
sure.
know that Tibet charges a pretty healthy fee to be able to climb the mountain. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars, right?
Both sides charge a hefty fee just for the permit.
Yeah,
Nepal just raised their price from 12,000 to 15,000 just for the permit,
right.
and Tibet charges 18,000 just for the permit
Wow. Per group or per person?
per person.
So this is not a poor man's sport. You got to have a little money to be able to do this.
You got to have a little bit of money, especially if you want to do it right.
Yeah.
And I know no disrespect whatsoever to anybody who feels that they can climb this mountain by themselves. If they have enough experience, there is a law. Both sides require at least one Sherpa.
Okay.
So you need to get at least a little bit of support. But my qualm with that is if you hire a Sherpa, they have very little authority over you,
Yeah.
right? So if the Sherpa who's more experienced is climbing with you and you run into some trouble and the Sherpa says, Mr. Climber, we really should stop and go back. The ones that end up frozen and are still there, they go back to the Sherpa saying, you know what? I paid all this money. I've waited so long. This is my once in a lifetime opportunity. I've got this. Don't worry about me. And those are the ones that do make it to the top, but
But
don't make it
don't
down.
make it down. Yeah. Well, if you watch Bashir's movie of Everest, they talk about that. And I don't know if there are any bodies on your side or not, but they talk about going up the other side and seeing people frozen. Just
They're,
air.
it's a given. Bodies on the way up. You definitely more on the south side.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether this was our lead guide just not wanting to scare us. He says we will probably not see bodies on the north side. Probably
Okay.
not. So they are there, but
Yeah.
we probably won't see them.
Well, if they're
I've seen
smart,
a bunch.
they'll route you around them, maybe, right?
There's not too many routes. There's like a single route. I mean, the Sherpas go up first. They put up a fixed line, and
Okay.
we follow that line. So if there's a body there,
You're
there's a
gonna
body
see it.
there.
So
It's gonna be weird.
you're clipped in the whole way to the top.
From the time we leave at advanced base camp, we're clipped in.
That's good. That's really good. Well, Stephen, if people want to follow your adventure, where would they find, pictures, stories, and follow you to the top?
Yeah,
How-
thanks for asking. So I'm trying to post daily. I post on Instagram. It's at Stephen Pivnik, one word. And the company that I'm with is Alpenglow Expeditions. They post a lot more than I do. So you can follow me personally at Stephen Pivnik. You can follow the expedition at Alpenglow Expeditions. And yeah, I think that's it. I hope the service keeps up as rumored so that I can continue to keep everybody updated.
And while people are waiting for your next update, they should read your book, right?
Thank you for reminding me.
I could be a PR agent, man.
I did write a book called Built to Finish. It basically compares my entrepreneurial journey to my endurance sports journey because I believe, as do many, that entrepreneurship is an endurance sport. So the book is called Built to Finish. You can find it on Amazon and every place else books are sold. It's available in print, audio, and also on Kindle.
Awesome. Stephen, good luck. Be safe. Come back, and we'll be following your adventure. It's really fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, and I love sharing the story, and I look forward to sharing the rest of the expedition.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening to the CEO Project Podcast. We'll see you next time. Be sure to subscribe to get all the future episodes and check out our website, www.theceoproject.com.